In the year 2020, the most significant advancement toward peace in the Middle East was formed. It was an agreement that created new relationships in a manner that had never been attempted before, and it has achieved results that have exceeded all expectations. And chances are you've never even heard of it. In this very special presentation, I'm going to take you through the history of the land of Israel, culminating in one of the most significant steps forward in the history of Israel's statehood. And I'm going to sit down with the president who made it happen. This is Israel and the Abraham Accords with Donald Trump and Jon Voight. While the story that led to the Abraham Accords actually began many thousands of years ago, today's story begins in, of all places, Bedminster, New Jersey, home of the Trump National Golf Club, where I was fortunate enough to sit down with President Donald Trump.
President Trump, this is a big honor for me. And I have to say right away, people assume because of some of the stances I've taken that we're friends, and we're close friends, and that we speak often, you know. And I say, well, I don't see him that much, but I'm deeply grateful for you. And so I'm really honored. And I took this, this is so that you think I'm a journalist, you see what I mean? I'm an actor, so I have a prop.
Right. And you're also a very talented person. I think a truly great actor. That's why we honored you at the White House with the highest achievement, and you deserve it.
That was one of the most fun pictures I have, is I heard the music for Midnight Cowboy, the way you had introduced me, and it went on, and I said, I better get up and do something. And I got up and I started doing a little dance move.
Right.
And I have a picture of you laughing when I did that. And that's one of my favorite pictures.
Yeah, that was, well, it was also one of my favorite movies, along with other of your movies, as you know. But no, I just very much appreciate your expression. Thank you very much.
Great. What I wanted to speak to you about was something that that we started at JLTV. My partner, Stephen Paul, said, what should we do, John, with JLTV? And I said, why don't you tell the story of the land of Israel?
And we made a TV show called The Land of Israel, God's Story. We told the story of the land of Israel from the actual places that it happened.
To me, this story is so extraordinary. It's God's gift to humankind. God says to this man, Abraham, 3,800 years ago, when Abraham was 75 years old, he said, I want you to go away from your home, away from your father's home, to a land I will show you, and I will make you a great nation. I will bless you, and those who bless you I will bless, and those who curse you I will curse, and through you, you will be a blessing to all the families on earth. And this was God's beginning of saying, here's how we'll help the human race get on track, going toward this land we will establish. And we know quickly what happened. Abraham was told when he went to Canaan, which was Israel, your son Isaac, and then Jacob, these will be the base of this land that I'm going to give you. Your people will eventually be a multitude of people, and 400 years from now, they're going to be slaves in Egypt. I will come and get them, and I will prepare them and bring them to the land, this land that you're on. And then we will begin to develop this land toward righteousness. And we know what happened. They went to the land, and unfortunately, these people turned their back on God's statutes. And God said, if you do this, through the prophets, he said this, you're going to be taken from this land. Horrors are going to take place for you because this is what you've done. And you will be distributed across the world. You won't be in this land. And then each prophet said, one after the other, I will gather them from the nations that they've been sent into, and there will be a remnant that will come back, and we will come back to this land. And then I will be your God, and you will be my people.
There are people in the world who think that the Bible is nothing more than a story. But I would ask them, if that's so, then why did history play out exactly as the prophets foretold 3,000 years ago? The Jews were exiled from Israel and spread to all corners of the world, to Australia, to Manchuria, everywhere, every continent. After nearly 2,000 years of exile, the prophecy for the Jews' return began to take shape. As it was written in the Bible, the land of Israel ran from Dan to Beersheba. From the years 1517 to 1917, this area had become part of the Ottoman Empire. At the beginning of World War I, the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire, Mehmed V, chose to join forces with the Central Powers, Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Bulgaria, against the Allies in World War I, a tactical decision that led to his empire's demise. As part of the ceasefire and surrender agreement, the Allied countries were awarded mandates over the colonies of the Central Powers in hopes of ensuring that the Great War could never happen again. Palestine was placed under the mandate of the British. Shortly after taking control of the region, British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour began to circulate a memorandum that became known as the Balfour Declaration, which expressed support for the, quote, establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people. This became accepted by the British government and the League of Nations. However, Arab nations, who were reluctant to see the creation of a Jewish state in the region, quickly began to place tremendous pressure on the British Parliament. In time, it succumbed to the pressure, and it soon became clear that a Jewish homeland would never be realized under the British mandate. It would remain in limbo until 1948, when Britain turned over the control of Palestine to the United Nations, who partitioned it into two separate countries, one of which would become the Jewish homeland. While this fell far short of the promise of what the Almighty had intended for them, they accepted this as a necessary first step. On May 14, 1948, the Jewish residents of Palestine declared independence over the land that had been allotted to them, restoring it to its rightful name, Israel. The Arab League, believing that the Jews would easily be defeated, launched an illegal, unprovoked war to gain control of the Israeli partition. Despite a refusal by the West to support Israel in this assault, the Arab forces miraculously fell to the Israeli militias, known then as Haganah. They would become the foundation for the Israeli Defense Force. In the process of defending their newly formed country, the Israelis gained control over 78% of the land originally promised by the League of Nations. When we come back, more on the history that led up to the signing of the most significant step toward peace in this century. And now, more of my conversation with Donald Trump.
Now, our presidents, our country, who carry the Bible, and know this story very well, know the importance of this land and the gift of this land to this people, didn't support Israel very well. And Israel was attacked several times by these warring nations and then internally. And our presidents didn't do much to help them, didn't see it. They kept offering peace solutions that required Israel give up land. Now, Israel's a very small place. They don't have land. And the Arab nations surrounding them have nothing but land.
All Israeli-Arab peace talks have focused on creating borders within Israel where another Arab state can reside and have its own independent government. This is what drove both the Camp David Accords in 1978 and the Oslo Accords in 1993. However, in both cases, peace never materialized, and the assassinations of both Egyptian Prime Minister Anwar Sadat and Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin were directly tied to these land for peace agreements. The Oslo Accords in particular had a devastating effect on Israeli-Palestinian relations, as the PLO used its newfound proximity to Israelis to commit some of the most heinous terrorist acts imaginable. First with suicide bombings on buses, and later with rockets launched from Gaza into highly populated civilian areas. The Trump administration recognized that the missing step toward peace was not a political one, but economic. They quickly began to investigate how the United States could help cement economic agreements between Israel and its surrounding Arab neighbors. Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, began the process of negotiation between Israel and the United Arab Emirates to build channels for direct investment and financial cooperation between the two countries. By mid-August of 2020, a deal had been reached. As news of this landmark agreement began to make its way through the Middle East, leaders from the country of Bahrain reached out to Kushner and his senior advisor, Ivy Berkowitz, saying, "We want to be next."
We just finished a very exciting 2 days here in Bahrain where we had the Peace to Prosperity workshop. We had over 20 countries participate and 350 business leaders from throughout the world. This is a very important blueprint for the future of the Palestinian people and hopefully a step in the direction of making this a safer, more prosperous region with tremendous opportunity for all the people.
On September 15th, 2020, the leaders of the United States, Israel, the United Arab Emirates, and Bahrain signed the Abraham Accords on the south lawn of the White House.
Abraham, as many of you know, was the father of all three great faiths. He's referred to as Abraham in the Christian faith, Ibrahim in the Muslim faith, and Avraham in the Jewish faith. And no person better symbolizes the potential for unity among all these three great faiths than Abraham, and that's why this accord has been given that name.
I wanted it to be called the Donald J. Trump Accord, but I didn't think the press would understand that, so I didn't do that.
This day is a pivot of history. It heralds a new dawn of peace.
I stand here today to extend a hand of peace and receive a hand of peace.
The declaration supporting peace between the Kingdom of Bahrain and the State of Israel is an historic step on the road to genuine and lasting peace.
We are already discussing this with other nations, very powerful, very good nations, and people that want to see peace in the Middle East.
Shortly thereafter, Sudan, Morocco, Oman, and Jordan formally signed the accords as well, clearing a host of new economic ties in this region. The accords have pumped billions of dollars into the economies of all the countries involved.
And when I became president, and even before I became president, I spoke very favorably about Israel. Golan Heights, as an example.
The Golan Heights were yet another attempt by the Israelis to trade land for peace. The Israelis captured the Golan Heights from Syria during the Six-Day War in 1967. After a ceasefire had been called between Israel, Egypt, Jordan, and Syria, the Israeli Knesset was prepared to return the Golan Heights to the Syrians in exchange for peace. This offer was quickly rejected when Syria signed on to the Khartoum Resolution at the end of the 1967 Arab League Summit. The resolution became known in Arab circles as the Three No's. No peace with Israel, no recognition of Israel, no negotiations with Israel. As such, both Israel and Syria continued to lay claim to the land. On December 14, 1981, Israel passed the Golan Heights Law, extending Israel's laws, jurisdiction, and administration to the Golan Heights. Israel's sovereignty over the land had not been recognized by any other country until the Trump administration changed the U.S. position to assert that the Golan Heights were part of the State of Israel. When we come back, more of my conversation with Donald Trump. Welcome back. And now, more of my conversation with Donald Trump.
I've always had a good relationship with people of the Jewish faith. I've gotten along with them very well. Great respect for what they've done, what they've accomplished.
The promises that were made to bring our embassy into Jerusalem, for instance, happened under this president, Donald Trump.
Jerusalem is recognized as the capital of Israel by nearly every country, including the United States. However, as the hopes for peace hinged on the belief that the eventual Palestinian state would have its capital in the eastern part of Jerusalem, the United States Israeli embassy was instead built in the city of Tel Aviv. so as not to offend the Arabs. In 1995, Congress adopted the Jerusalem Embassy Act, which urged the State Department to move its embassy to Israel's rightful capital. This law, however, was never enacted by any president prior to 2020, when President Trump began the process of moving the U.S. Embassy to its rightful Israeli home.
Exactly 70 years ago, the United States, under President Harry Truman, became the first nation to recognize the State of Israel. Today, we officially opened the United States Embassy in Jerusalem.
While it was expected that this might cause a stir in the Arab world, no harm came from it, which leads one to question, are we near a time of great peace?
I believe that there's going to be a turnaround.
Is that hope, or is that from your instinct? Why do you believe that? I mean, if some very big things don't happen very quickly, there can't be a turnaround.
I agree. People say to me all the time, will Donald Trump run? I said, certainly will run, but we can't wait too long. And I wanted to just say something about this gentleman. Just in this place we're at Trump International in New Jersey, and it's a wonderful, wonderful place, great golf course. I'm from the other coast, Palos Verdes, and you have a wonderful golf course there, which I visited. And they tell a story. You went into the place and you check on the place, and whenever you come to anywhere, everybody says, he knows everyone who works in every one of his facilities. Now, I know you have places all over the country. You went into the place and said, is Sally so-and-so working here today? You went in and said, oh, yeah, have her come see me. And you went to one of the offices. And she came in and you said, I hear you're having a little bit of a difficulty. And she said, well, I have some cancer issues. And see, I'm getting emotional. See, this is from you keep saying the champ. You can't watch the champ without crying. Well, I can't. I can't go through this story without crying. And you said, "I'll take care. Let me take care of the whatever it's going to cost. You know, I want to take care of you. You're valuable to me, whatever that is. I mean, and that's who you are. That's who I know you to be, and people, when they work for you, all these people here that I've met and the people I've met at the various facilities and down in Mar-a-Lago, they always have a smile on their face. And they're always very clever people, really good folks who do their job well. And I also just have a personal thing to thank you for. My father was a golf professional. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that you have a great golf game, and you have a great appreciation for the game. And one of the things that you did, you've taken these different areas across the country that were going to seed a little bit, and you looked at them and you said, we can do something with this place. And you turned it into something that was a blessing for that area and for all the people that work there. You did this in New Jersey, you did it here, you did it, and you did it with Doral. And from my understanding of golf, you see, Doral was a course that was up here, one of the great courses. It was no longer in the picture for the big tournaments because it would have to be adjusted to the longer game, the ball speed and all of this stuff that it had to be, approached and changed. You took that on and you made it into a great golf course. And I think it's one of the most charismatic golf courses in the country now, Doral, because of you. So I have that to thank you for. Anyway, so I'm just very grateful for your presence in so many areas. But
first of all, I think it's so nice the way you express that, and even the slight little tears that come. You're just a fantastic person.
And I really want people to come together. Right. I want the United States to be one in their understanding of the greatness of this country and wanting its future to be magnificent for the new generations to come. And that means the world will go toward peace. So I say to the folks, I say, let's stay in hope. Let's appreciate our country. and let's appreciate those who are capable of turning the tide and bringing us back to the greatness that we were given by our founding fathers. So,
Well, I want to thank you, and we love the country. The country's in trouble. It's got to be solved fairly quickly.
Yes.
There is no choice but to solve the problem, but it's a big problem. It's a big problem, and I hope it continues forward, and we love Israel, and we hope everything's going to be okay.
sure.
A lot of good moves have to be made, or it's not going to be okay. And
Right.
we say God bless you and good luck. John, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for this time, Mr. President. I hope it's worthy of you.
Oh, no, this is
God bless.
excellent. Very good. Very good. Thank you, John.
John has a new career.
John is the greatest. I didn't have to do too much talking. He's the greatest.
No, you were great.
He's passionate. He loves you.
What's your head, John?
He can talk about you for days. He wants to tell
Did
stories.
you guys want to stay for dinner? Did you want to? Why don't you stay? They have great food. Can we get a table set up for you? You want to? Are they set?
I'll
Upstairs.
Get them set.
Will you take care of that?